Challenger.
Hey, Frog Prince Runner here, and thank you for dropping by. This will be a short video, I promise. We're looking at a channel called Under No Pressure with a video titled Flat Earth Mr. Sensible MAGE Fail Dumbest Glober 2020 MAGE Fail. So, in a 13-minute video, what do you reckon Under No Pressure would have to say? Do you think he would show some mathematical formula? Maybe some modeling? Or do you think it would simply be, aha, because I say so? One thing I will add before getting to the video. Whenever someone says they will educate us, 9 times out of 10, they're just talking out of their ass. This video is not the 10th one, but one of the 9s.
Mr. Sensible, I don't think you quite understand who I am and what I am about. I am from order you may not have heard of. The Flat Earth Investigation Organization Unit, FEIOU. And you, Mr. Sensible, have been found guilty of deception, fraud, and manipulation. Mr. Sensible, you are adequately incompetent when it comes to scale. Scale, Mr. Sensible, scale. You see, had you had known the basic and fundamentals of geometry, then you would have known some simple calculations. Is it too much to ask you to carry out simple equations, Mr. Sensible? If the Earth were the size of a beach ball, 20 inches in diameter, the ISS would be about half an inch from the surface, Mr. Sensible. Half an inch. Allow me to proceed to educate the feeble-minded like yourself, Mr. Sensible. Now, if the Earth were a beach ball, and MAGE, your high-altitude balloon, were above the surface at 127,000 feet, how high do you think MAGE would be above the surface in millimeters? You wonder why you were considered a moron, Mr. Sensible. Let's scale it down. 23 miles, 38 kilometers, 127 feet is only about 2 millimeters. 2 millimeters, Mr. Sensible, above the surface. Where in that beach ball head of yours did you expect to see the curvature of Earth?
I will summarize the whole argument. If Earth was a beach ball of 20 inches in diameter, then the MAGE camera went up 2 mm above the surface, and it cannot see the curvature. That is it. All it is a statement without any additional things that we normal people would expect. That is some kind of proof. But then again, asking for that is too much from stupid flat earthers. Now I know Mr. Sensible will tear that video down only the way he can. But before he schools this guy, I thought I would give him a head start. Now, how to show that Under No Pressure is a dumb flat earther in my video? I'm spoiled for choice. At the end, I decided not to go with any maths. As we all know, flurfers can't do basic math. So maybe a visual approach would be easier for those morons to understand. Let's get some values out of the way. MAGE balloon went up 127,000 feet. That is 38,709.6 meters. Earth's diameter is 12,742 km at the equator. Finally, the 3 cameras mounted were a GoPro Hero 3 Plus, GoPro Hero 4 and a Firefly 8 SE 90° with no distortion lens. Now to clarify a point. Traditionally, especially old schoolers like me, tend to use focal length when describing a lens. And Typically, even for a digital camera, we use a length that is equivalent of a 35mm camera. For example, my Sony DSLR, based on its sensor size, is roughly 1.5 times focal length compared to 35mm. Meaning, if I put a lens that is 100 to 200mm, its equivalent in a 35mm camera would be 150 to 300mm. Which brings me to these cameras. According to the specification, Firefly 8 SE has a 12mm focal length, which is equivalent to about a 22mm lens on a 35mm camera, where GoPro Hero 3 Plus and GoPro Hero 4 has a 35mm equivalent of 16.21mm. These are wide field of view values. When it is in narrower mode, it becomes around 34.4mm. We will soon see why it is important when we move to the simulation. Yep. Sorry that I can't send a balloon up for this debunk, but I can show what we would see with some caveats. First, I'm ignoring atmospheric refraction, as the point here is, if the Earth was a beach ball, would a camera 2mm above the surface be able to see the curvature? Also, for this simulation, I did not bother to model Moon's orbit or Earth's orbit properly. This is simply because, well, I'm lazy, and also the fact that it has nothing to do with the point at hand. That being said, let's see what I have. First, Earth. Well, let's confirm we have the correct diameter. Yep, that Earth sphere has the correct size of 12,756 km, and currently the center of Earth is at location 000. Next is the location of MAGE camera. It is at z-axis of 6,416.71 km. So translates to Earth's radius plus 38.71 km. Trust me, flat earthers. In the model, it is 127,000 feet above the surface. Finally, camera focal length. Now, we normal people understand that the lower focal length is, the wider is the view. The wider the view, the more area you see. Meaning, any curvature would be more obvious if we manage to see a wider area. This is the reason you can't really see the curve from an aircraft passenger window, as it limits our field of view. But for fun, first a view with a camera with a telephoto lens of 100mm. Can you guys see any curve there? Well, let's slowly bring it down all the way to 35mm, which is still narrower than all the cameras used, even if those were set to narrow mode. Can you guys see any curve now? I do hope this is enough to demonstrate that one can indeed see the curve on a beach ball of 20 inches with a camera 2mm above it. So under no pressure, another massive fail for you guys. Now, instead of trying to educate others, maybe it is time for you to go and educate yourself first. If I can quote Christopher Hitchens, what can be asserted without evidence can also be dismissed without evidence. But you guys are so very special, and I'm using that word in a politically correct sense, that we're dismissing it with evidence. Finally, shout out to Mr. Sensible. Love your channel and loved your MAGE project. Utterly brilliant. Thank you for being yourself. As for flat earthers, when will you guys ever learn? Don't answer that. It's a rhetorical question. That's all for this video. I did say it's a short one, right? Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, and maybe share it around. If you could also subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated and would help me bring more content to you. Thank you once again. Wherever you are, have a safe day. Signing off.
try.